are not his father.
Are you kidding me?
That's messed up, man.
From the bottom of my broken heart, Wallace Tillwell, I'm sorry. I have no idea who his dad is at this point.
Come.
About having a sexual relationship with your mother's boyfriend.
I had not really thought about it until I got a phone call from him. And he was talking about having sex and going somewhere. I snuck out of my grandma's house that night and went to a park.
You still considered her your daughter?
Yes, that's my daughter. There's no way in the world I would not think that.
Excuse me, Your
that's
Honor.
my daughter.
He calls me his daughter sitting here, but he's never been a dad to me.
Mr. Tidwell was refusing to accept Ms. Lockridge's child. He claimed he was never in a serious relationship with Ms. Lockridge and was shocked when she told him he was the father of her baby. Ms. Lockridge dragged him to court in the hopes of proving to him that he is very much the father of her child.
You've dragged the defendant, Mr. Tidwell, to court because he has refused to acknowledge your 10-month-old son, King. You are 100% sure he's the father and claim today's results will prove your case. Mr. Tidwell, you say you were never in a serious relationship with Ms. Lockridge and you were stunned when she told you she was pregnant. The timing leads you to suspect that baby King's father must be another man.
Mr. Tidwell had no type of relationship with Ms. Lockridge's baby. She claimed that the only time her baby and Mr. Tidwell were ever in the same space was when she purposely took the baby to him so he would meet the child for the first time, given the fact that Mr. Tidwell actually named her child.
Your Honor, Mr. Tidwell does not have a relationship with my son. The only time he's actually seen my son is when I've made it a convenience for him and brought him to him. That means traveling 4 hours on bus, driving 2 hours on the car to drive to him. He hasn't helped with diapers. He barely helped with any clothes, and it hurts. It's frustrating. He named my son King, and how am I supposed to raise a king, and he's not there?
You named him King, Mr. Tidwell?
Yes, Your Honor.
There was no shaking his mind, trust me. When asked about the kind of relationship he had with Ms. Lockridge, he stopped the judge before she could finish her sentence and said there was no relationship to begin with. For him, it was all about having a good time without any intention of being in a serious relationship.
So take me back to this relationship. I want to understand all
There
this.
was no relationship.
Just casual sex?
Yes.
We were on and off for 6 years. We were together for my understanding, how he led me to believe I was single, or I was with him in a committed relationship for at least a year. And then I was my side, my personal opinion. We were together for a year.
That's you?
We've been messing around. Okay, well, anyways, we've been messing around for 6 years. I did leave for a 2-year period because I had to get my life back on track.
Mr. Tidwell claimed Ms. Lockridge had done so many things that just made him realize there was no way he could be the father of her baby. He told the judge that she had another guy she was sleeping with, but Ms. Lockridge denied it and said there was no other guy.
She has another guy that she was sleeping with.
During the time that you were having sex with Ms. Lockridge, were you aware of anyone else she was involved with sexually?
Not personally, but we weren't.
There was nobody else.
We weren't
Snoop,
in a-
I'm not gonna drive. I'm not gonna ride the bus 4 hours.
We were not
take
in a
3
serious
buses to
relationship
come
or
sleep
no
with you
type
if I
of-
got.
On one of those cozy evenings when Ms. Lockridge came to visit Mr. Tidwell, she did something that was pretty surprising. Apparently, she had found out that she was pregnant, but for some reason, she couldn't tell Mr. Tidwell to his face. What did she do? She dropped a picture of the ultrasound of the baby and wrote behind it, telling Mr. Tidwell she was sorry.
I'm not sure the exact words of the note, but it said that she didn't know how to tell me this, and she's sorry she had to tell me like that. So I called her, she didn't answer the phone. She ended up leaving me a text message saying that she was sorry and that she didn't know how to tell me that she was pregnant.
All right, so that's 1 week after you had sex with her, she left you a note.
Yes.
That's a lie.
So now, and you had the ultrasound picture.
She did, yeah.
You could see it all in her eyes. She was very upset. Oh, trust me, she had taken enough of Mr. Tidwell's denial. She claimed she had no reason to lie about him being the father of her baby. In her mind, she was excited to have his child, but what irritated her was the fact that Mr. Tidwell just wouldn't believe her one bit.
I know for a fact that he's his father. He was the only
She
one
just
I
said,
was
Your Honor, I
sleeping-
finally
when we
got
were-
something from him.
I was happy that I was pregnant, so I'm not gonna ruin the happiness by telling you in front of your brother that I'm pregnant with you when I don't know how you were gonna react, because every time I bring anything to you, you react all negative and I get sideways. When we conceived my child, I told him I just had my period
That's
a week
a lie,
ago.
Your Honor.
He said, shut up, and we kept going at it for a
Oh,
couple hours.
That's a lie, Your
wow.
Honor.
Why would
That's
you
a
say
lie, Your Honor.
something like that?
After all that drama, the judge headed right to the time when Ms. Lockridge gave birth to her baby. Ms. Lockridge claimed he was never around to do a single thing for her. She even went on to say he didn't care about her or the baby after she informed him that she was pregnant.
Not at all. He didn't care about. I texted him when I was every doctor's appointment, all my weight gains, the weight changes. I even sent him voice with recordings of the heartbeat, all that, like the works. When I had my son, I was in labor for 36 hours completely by myself, to the point where the nurse that was with me, she had to call the doctor and ask the doctor if she could stay with me because I was by myself.
When you need someone to back you up in a courtroom, the best person to bring is your mother, and that was the case with Mr. Tidwell. There was no denying the fact that his mother definitely didn't like Ms. Lockridge. She claimed Ms. Lockridge was obsessed with her son and was willing to do and say anything to be with him.
She is very obsessed with my son.
I am not obsessed. I was in love with him.
All she talks about is how much she wants to be with him and how she's got a prayer closet at home for him. One day he's gonna be her husband. Well, you know, this is just obsession, really.
But he has admitted, Mom, to being intimate with Ms. Lockridge.
Yes.
So why is it so far-fetched that he could be King's biological father?
Ms. Lockridge claimed she asked Mr. Tidwell and his mother if they wanted to spend some time with her child, and they agreed. But Mr. Tidwell and his mother remembered the situation differently. They claimed she just dropped the baby off and disappeared without saying anything.
You call them and say, can you keep King?
I said, did you want to spend time with your son? Because I'm fixing to go take a modeling shoot in Nevada.
No,
that
she
was
just
not
dropped the baby
she
off.
She came to
I
visit
didn't.
and brought him to visit. While she was visiting, she decided to leave.
Yes.
Okay.
Not called. There wasn't.
During the visit?
Yes.
She just up and left.
Yes.
No, I didn't.
We didn't see her for 2
That's a
weeks.
bull-faced lie. I don't care what you say, bro. On my mama, bro. I told them.
Their drama had definitely gone on for way too long. It just kept going from bad to worse in the courtroom. The results are in, and the judge is ready to get to the bottom of the situation. Who do you think the father is?
Mr. Tidwell, you are not his father.
Are you kidding me?
Messed up, man.
I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
From the bottom of my broken heart, Wallace Tidwell, I'm sorry. And to your whole family, I apologize. I have no idea who his dad is at this point.
We knew that.
I'm sorry, but I didn't sleep.
It's okay. Come.
Ms. Alston was desperate to find out who her real father was. She initially met Mr. Holmes at the age of 15 and is now in court to prove that he is her father. Mr. Holmes, on the other hand, believed there was no way he could be her biological father. He claimed her biological father was the man on her birth certificate.
Ms. Alston, you've come to court to prove to the defendant, Mr. Holmes, whom you first met at the age of 15, that you are his biological daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Holmes, you say there's no way she's your child, and today the DNA will prove your case. You say her biological father is David Alston, the man who is on her birth certificate and paid child support for her.
Ms. Alston started her story by telling the judge that her mother and Mr. Alston, the man who is her current dad, were initially married. She claimed that even though Mr. Alston's name was signed on her birth certificate, Mr. Holmes had always been like a father figure to her.
One summer I was going outside to play, and my mom was outside talking to a guy, and when I walked up, he was like, tell her. And she looked at me and said, this is your uncle. This is your dad's brother. So I proceeded to meet the family, which is my younger brother, my grandmother, aunts and uncles, and they embraced me like if they knew me from day one. So I have always assumed that Mr. Alston was my dad because his name was on my birth certificate. But at 15, she told me that Mr. Holmes can be my dad.
Mr. Holmes claimed he never knew Ms. Alston's mom was pregnant. He even said he never met Ms. Alston until she was 15 years old. In his defense, he claimed he always had doubts about being her father, but he took her into his home because he knew what it felt like not to have a father.
Until 15 years later. So I kind of felt that she wasn't mine because I didn't even know that she existed until that time.
Did you know she was married?
No.
And how were you made aware?
By my mother.
Did you immediately think this may not be my child, or were you just accepting of the news because she says your family was accepting of her?
I accepted her because I know how it feels to not have a father.
Ms. Alston mentioned that when she met Mr. Holmes, it felt like she had met her long-lost father. She said he was so welcoming that it was hard for her not to love him right away. But with Mr. Alston, it never felt that way, and there was no type of love between them.
Finally did meet Mr. Holmes. What was that like?
It was wonderful. It was actually a good feeling for the kid in me because I've always wanted a dad. So it's actually great. I have abandonment issues from Mr. Alston, so it actually felt welcoming. It felt like I had a father who wants to love me for me. So it felt wonderful.
So what was your relationship like with Mr. Alston? Explain that.
Your Honor, I hate to say this, but I hate him. I do, because he abandoned me and left me.
Well, Mr. Holmes' mom was present with him in the courtroom, and she was asked what she knew about the whole situation. She said that Ms. Alston's mother came to her initially and told her that Mr. Holmes was the father of her baby.
Well, her mother came to me first and said that Donna was my son's child.
So I told John, I said, John, Donna is my grandchild.
And when her mother told you this, did she say or mention that there could also be other possible fathers?
No, she never admitted that to me. She just told me my son was Donna's father. And I believed it.
I mean, it was only right that the judge asked Ms. Alston if her mother ever gave her some clarity as to who her real father was. She claimed her mother told her that her father was Mr. Holmes, and she went with it because he was more of a father figure to her than Mr. Alston, who her mother was married to.
Did she ever give you a reason?
She never did. She's never.
Did you ever ask her?
No, I never asked.
So you just...
When she told me and I met Miss Jenny, when they took me in as a family, I just ran with it because she said he was my dad.
Did you run with it because you had such a difficult relationship with Mr. Alston?
Yes, Your
That you just needed somewhere to run?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Alston finally walks into the courtroom. For him, everything that was going on felt like a dream. He always believed Ms. Alston was his daughter, and he is just getting to find out that there is a possibility he might not be her father.
15 years ago? No, I just found out now.
So you're saying that up until recently, you still considered her your daughter?
Yes, that's my daughter. There's no way in the world I would not think that.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
That's my daughter.
He calls me his daughter sitting here, but he's never been a dad to me. He's never been a dad. I don't recall no phone calls.
But she says she tried to have a relationship with you and you rejected her.
No,
Yeah.
Ms. Alston was furious that Mr. Alston never acted like a father to her. He was claiming he had been paying her child support since her birth, but she stopped right there and told him it wasn't about the money and she needed a father.
Money is minor. Where's the love? Where's the care? Where's the time? Where's the Christmases? That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. We're not here about money.
We're talking about 15 years, though.
We're talking about actually 16 years.
After 16 years, you said you had another father after
Who's
16
been
years.
more of a father to me
But
than
I'm
you
just
have?
saying, why
If
you
you
didn't
signed
come
the
to
birth
me-
certificate.
Why didn't you come to me 15, 16 years ago?
Why should I come to you?
We could have done this 16 years ago.
You're the parent. I'm the child.
Well, the suspense is finally over, and the hassle of who the dad of their child is about to be revealed. It's been a bumpy and funny ride with Mr. Holmes and Ms. Alston. All eyes are on the judge as she unleashes the truth.
Mr. Holmes, you are not Miss Alston's father. Mr. Alston, you are not Miss Alston's father.
Why is she doing that? Lord have mercy. Oh my God.
Sit her down, man.
Oh my God.
Sit down, Miss. Oh,
Wow. Oh my God.
I'm so sorry, Miss Alston.
There was a lot of tension in the courtroom as regards this particular situation. A lot of hearts were broken, and all that was left was to determine who the father was. Mr. Pace was going to be devastated if he found that the results from the DNA were not in his favor. What was worse for him was the fact that his girlfriend cheated on him with his best friend.
Mr. Pace, you say you will be crushed today if DNA results reveal you are not the biological father of your son, Prince.
Yes, Your Honor.
You maintain that the defendant betrayed you by cheating with Prince's second possible father, your best friend.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Ms. Fobbs, you say you were caught between the man you're in love with and his best friend.
Yes, Your Honor.
For Mr. Pace, everything was at stake. He was going to lose 3 separate relationships if it turned out that he wasn't the father. The one he has with his girlfriend, the one he has with his best friend, and the relationship he had built with the child in question.
I would say 3 relationships: the relationship that I have with Miss Fobbs, as well as the relationship that I have with Mr. Randolph, also the relationship that I have with Prince. So there is a lot on the line for me. That's my little man. We watch TV together, we ball, I'm feeding him cereal in the morning. He's like my real little buddy, and he looks up to me, and I don't want to let him down, basically.
The relationship between Mr. Pace and Ms. Fobbs started as a really beautiful one. They initially met in traffic, and he got her number from there. Before you know it, they went on a couple of dates, and things kicked off from there. Anyone who heard the story would automatically wish they were the ones in such a situation. It was so beautiful to listen to. But then, the dark days came.
I pulled over, actually, and we had a conversation. I ended up getting her phone number. We went out on a few dates. We kind of bonded real quick. She ended up moving in with me and Mr. Randolph. Shortly after her moving in, she became pregnant. Once we found that out, being that she wanted her own space, we ended up moving into another spot together. And that's where I've been ever since, as far as in the relationship with her.
It was time for Ms. Fobbs to answer the allegations of how her cheating started. Apparently, she moved in with her boyfriend and his best friend, and that's where it all began. She claimed that the cheating escapade happened only once with Mr. Pace's best friend, and it was because he was always away at work.
As a feeling of neglect. The situation with me and Randolph was a mistake, a big mistake, the worst mistake I think I ever made, because I've never intentionally set out to hurt Byron in any way. I just want this to be okay. I want everything to stay the way it is. I don't want us to separate the situation or anything.
So when you say you took this as neglect?
The magic question was finally asked, and everyone wanted to know how Ms. Fobbs ended up sleeping with Mr. Pace's best friend. Mr. Pace said was in a very heated argument with Ms. Fobbs when she dropped the bombshell on him.
That's interesting. We were actually in a heated argument at the time that it occurred, but it kind of just got blurted out to me that Mr. Randolph could be a potential father for Prince.
Wait a minute. So you're in a heated argument as a couple, and just out of the blue she yells, and by the way, your best friend could be Prince's father?
Correct. Prince was 2.5 at the time.
When Mr. Pace found out the atrocity that had occurred, he immediately went to his best friend to ask him point blank if he actually slept with Ms. Fobbs. Sadly, he didn't deny the accusation. Everyone in the courtroom couldn't wrap their heads around the fact that something like that happened.
Strangely enough, he did say yes.
So Mr. Randolph, I just have to ask, how could you sleep with your best friend's girl?
Well, to answer that, Your Honor, I wasn't in the right state of mind. We both was intoxicated. You know, he was out promoting clubs, and she used to come home from the club intoxicated.
Now Mr. Randolph, the best friend who could also be a potential father to Ms. Fobbs' child, submitted a picture of him and the child, claiming that there was a resemblance between him and the baby. But Ms. Fobbs said she couldn't see any type of resemblance when she looked at the picture.
You think you look pretty much exactly alike?
Little characteristics, forehead maybe, mouth. But
when you look at this picture, Ms. Fobbs, do you see any resemblance?
No, I don't.
None?
None.
Do you see a resemblance to Mr. Pace?
Yeah, he looks like Byron more than he looks like Randolph.
I see my nose a little.
Well, the suspense is finally over, and the hassle of who the dad of the child is about to be revealed. It's been a bumpy and funny ride with Mr. Pace and Ms. Fobbs. Who is the father going to be?
Mr. Pace, you are not his father.
Oh, man.
So sorry.
That's not what I wanted to hear.
I'm so sorry.
It's not right.
Do you need to sit down, Mr. Pace? Are you okay?
I'm okay.
I promise you, by the end of this case, you will be left in shock. Ms. Holthouse was in court, having no idea who the father of her child was. Here's the crazy thing. She thinks the defendant, who is her mother's boyfriend, is the father of her child. Mr. Chenault admitted to sleeping with his girlfriend's daughter, but claims he isn't the father.
Ms. Holthouse, you are here to prove paternity of your 3-month-old son, Zayden.
Yes, Your Honor.
Shockingly, you confess it's either a man you shared a sexual relationship with who wants nothing to do with your child, or the defendant who happens to be your mother's boyfriend. Now, Mr. Chenault, you are Ms. Holthouse's mother's boyfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
There was only one question to be asked, and that was how Mr. Chenault found himself getting into a sexual relationship with his girlfriend's daughter. She claimed it all started as a text message, and from there, things got pretty intense.
It started out as a text message, Your Honor. I received wasn't supposed to come to me, and a word was misspelled. It was a word. A few days later, she had on tight clothing, little skirt, breast out, and next thing you know, one thing led to another. We started flirting with each other back and forth. Things just escalated from there.
Wait a minute. Did you ever think in your mind this is inappropriate?
Oh, there was a lot of truth to be revealed in the courtroom. The judge initially thought the text message was meant for someone else, but Ms. Holthouse told her that wasn't the case. She claimed the message was actually intended for Mr. Chenault.
It was meant for him, but my mom was sitting right beside me when I texted him this. So I was asking him when he's going to come over.
Did you have any thoughts, intentions about having a sexual relationship with your mother's boyfriend?
I had not really thought about it until I got a phone call from him. And he was talking about having sex and going somewhere.
Trust me, it was really hard for the judge to keep her cool. The whole situation was just beyond irritating. When Ms. Holthouse sent the text to her mother's boyfriend, he didn't stop the whole situation from proceeding. To make things even worse, their sexual relationship went on for over 6 months.
So how long did this sexual relationship last?
It was about 6 months.
6 months?
Yes, sure.
Did your mother have any idea this was going on?
She didn't have any idea until Mr. Chenault and her got locked up and he got out while he was in jail.
How did she find out?
She had kind of manipulated both of us, saying that I told her about what we did, and I never said anything, and she said that he told her about what...
The situation gets even worse. While Mr. Chenauld was having a good time with Ms. Holthouse behind her mother's back, he was also still very much in a sexual relationship with Ms. Holthouse's mother.
We did, and he never said anything.
And who confessed?
Actually, I confessed.
You did?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you also still sleeping with her mother during that time?
Yes.
Now you know that's just nasty.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Holthouse, how were you sneaking around behind your mother's back with her boyfriend?
When Ms. Holthouse found out she was pregnant, as you would expect, she kept it a secret from her mother. She wasn't particularly sure who the father of her child was because she was sleeping with Mr. Chenauld and another man.
So tell me what happened.
Well, at the moment I did not know, but as my mom was pregnant with my sister, my sister is Mr. Chenauld's daughter, and she was...
Wait, how old is her daughter?
She's about to turn 11 months.
How old is your child?
He is 3 months.
3 months. When you find out you're pregnant, whose child do you think it is?
At the moment, it could have been 2 guys.
Well, we all had to hear from Ms. Holthouse's mother, or should I say girlfriend, in Mr. Chenauld's case. Now she walked into the courtroom, looking very disappointed in both her boyfriend and her daughter. She went on to talk about how she caught them, and trust me, it was mind-blowing.
Your intuition told you something was going on.
Right, because my daughter was acting funny.
What was she acting like?
If I was sitting on the couch next to Mr. Chenauld and I would get up to go to the bathroom, she would get up out of the chair across the room to sit by him.
Oh, no, she didn't. Now you have a 10-month-old child by Mr. Chenauld.
I did tell you the case would leave your jaws dropping from your mouth. Well, the results from the DNA tests are in, and it's time to see how brutal they are going to be. Get ready, because here it comes.
Mr. Chenauld, it has been determined by this court. You are not.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I can hear you breathe a sigh of relief, Miss Bogartis.
I do think that we all need counseling.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Miss Holthouse, what are you gonna do?
If they are cheating, you can always count on paternity court to get them exposed. Ms. Robinson was wrapped up in the tales of her mother from her wildlife back when her mom was younger. Ms. Robinson was suing her mother for paternity fraud and was determined to prove that the man on her birth certificate was not her father. Could her mom be innocent?
Ms. Robinson, you are suing your mother for paternity fraud and are here to prove that Mr. Moore is your biological father, even though your mother put another man's name on your birth certificate. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Ms. Harris, you're certain Mr. Moore is not your daughter's father and claim her case of paternity fraud is outrageous.
Yes.
You could tell Ms. Robinson wasn't going to go easy on her mom. The first words are out of her mouth, and she's already pointing fingers at her mom. She claimed that when she was younger and wanted to find the real identity of her dad, her mother never wanted her to know the truth, but Ms. Harms wasn't ready to play nice either.
Tried to ask her about my father. I guess it was a part of her past she didn't just want to bring up, so it always got pushed to the back burner. Or I was told, get the hell out of her face, leave her alone, don't ask any questions about it, you know who your dad is.
She's lying. I've always told her who her dad was. And to my knowledge,
who was supposed to be my dad?
It's not Mr. Moore.
Like I said, her mother wasn't ready to play nice one bit. She was furious that her daughter wasn't ready to believe that she knew who her real father was. She knew for a fact that the man Ms. Robinson was claiming to be her father stood no chance of being her father because she remembered moving on from their relationship before she had her baby.
He is not your father.
When you say you had already moved on, explain that. You're saying you moved on from
Mr. Moore. I never thought he was a father because I had already moved on, Your Honor.
So you're saying you got pregnant after you already moved on away from him, so there's no way he could be your biological father, so you didn't even feel like there was any reason to entertain that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Regardless of how certain Ms. Harms was about the identity of Ms. Robinson's father, her daughter was just not ready to believe her. Her mind was hell-bent on what she believed because while she grew up, a lot of people told her stories about how there was a possibility she could have 2 possible fathers.
Did you first hear about Mr. Moore being a possible biological father?
The first time I heard about it was kind of weird because I was young and I was just told that he's not your father.
Your Honor, excuse me, Your Honor, she thought that? Why would it take her 36 years?
Because no one lets me talk.
Wait, I wanted to finish the story because
nobody lets me talk. I mean, never. What kid doesn't want to know their father?
With that revelation, Ms. Harms sure has a lot of explaining to do. You could see it in Ms. Robinson's eyes that the messy situation hurt her so badly. I mean, who wouldn't want to know who their birth father is? But the big question still remains. Why did her mother keep it a secret?
I could not imagine my life without him in it.
That's all I want.
And when you say I never had that, I feel for you because I know what you're missing. I really do. And I see the tears in your eyes, even at 36.
Take it for, I'm glad that you can say you had your father, but you have empathy to know how I could feel about it.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people have their fathers and they'll look at me like, I don't even like my daddy. Girl, you better without him. No, I could be better with him.
Even with all that pressure from the judge and her daughter, Ms. Harms still insisted her daughter had no clue as to what she believed was true. Being very furious, Ms. Robinson decides to introduce some evidence to back up her claim. Oh, trust me, she came fully prepared to win this battle against her mom.
The father's spot, it has a signature. Now, when I looked at that, I seen that the signature looked new. It didn't look as old as my mom's signature on there. But I'm a kid, so I went along with it. Last year, I needed to get a new ID. So I go to get a new ID, and they told me that my original birth certificate there was not good enough. I needed to get the new one. When I got the new birth certificate, it did not have a father's name.
Boy, was that some evidence? Ms. Robinson sure wasn't ready to play any games. Talk about a brawl between mother and daughter. That piece of evidence brought in some heavy amount of confusion between the both of them. But was that the only evidence Ms. Robinson had up her sleeve? Well,
why I think we look alike.
So this is a picture of
me and Mr. Moore.
You on the left and Mr. Moore on the right.
And I also have another picture of our noses, Your Honor, when I was younger.
Oh, Lord. This is side by side.
Every time I look in the mirror, ever since I looked at his pictures, I feel like Mr. Moore with a wig on.
That definitely answers that question. Nothing in this world could come in the way of Ms. Robinson's determination to know who her biological father is. The judge finally asked the man Ms. Robinson believes to be her father to come into the courtroom. Here's how that situation played out.
And she's indicated through her testimony that you believe you are her biological father. Do you?
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
You do? Yes. Tell the court why.
Well, Your Honor, she used to babysit her sister's kids, and I used to go there a lot, and we were having sex a lot. It wasn't no little bit. It's true. And so a few months later, I know a little pouch on her belly.
That definitely complicates the entire situation. Mr. Moore had quite a lot to say about Ms. Harms. She had been keeping a lot of secrets from her daughter, and Mr. Moore was here with the shotgun to let it all out. Now, hold your breaths, people, because more truth bombs are coming your way.
Because I didn't have anything to do with her no more.
And when I seen him when I was 12, that's exactly what I told him.
Yeah.
You remember that day?
I remember.
He pulled up on me. I was walking to the store. He said, hey, girl, I'm your daddy.
You said, I'm your daddy?
Yeah.
I said, what's your name? He said, Vernon. I'm like, oh, that's Vernon. You ain't my daddy. My mama told me to tell you to leave me alone. He said, girl, I'm your daddy. Your mama crazy.
Why don't we wrap up all this craziness between mother and daughter? Ms. Harms can lie all she wants, but the DNA results will always reveal the truth. Speaking of DNA results, here it comes.
Mr. Moore, you are not her father.
Oh my God. Dude, who is my daddy? I cannot.
So let's go get the other one and come right back here and do this again.
My courtroom is always open for you, Miss Robinson. If there is someone else you'd like to test.
When you talk about a messy situation, this definitely fits the description. For this couple, this wasn't their first rodeo within the walls of the paternity courtroom. Mr. McCrory had reason to doubt the paternity of one of his kids. To make things even worse, their marriage was on the verge of being over. Did his wife betray him again?
Mr. McCrory, after you and your wife received shocking results in this courtroom surrounding your daughter's paternity, you returned home and realized you have good reason to doubt your son Keith's paternity. And now your marriage is on the rocks.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. McCrory, you claim your daughter's results surprised you, but you're confident your husband fathered your 3-year-old son, and you hope to prove it today. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, that was surprising. Looks like Mr. McCrory's wife might have stabbed him in the back once again. With all that cheating, they definitely need couples therapy. At least she admitted to cheating on her husband, so that's a good start. But what else lies in her world of secrets?
That wasn't even like cold, like it was, we just broke up. Like, I mean, if me and her, you know, if something happens to her and she dies today, I'm not gonna have a new woman in the bed 3 days later because, you know, the death do us part. I couldn't get a hold of her. I called her and for 2 days she ignored me. Finally, I get a hold of her and there's a guy in the background and she's claiming it's her brother.
I'm not even going to hold my tongue on this, but Mrs. McCrory is one crazy lady. First, she admits to cheating. Now, she lies to her husband, saying the man she cheated on him with is her brother. Wow, to that! Even after having unprotected sex, she still believes Mr. McCrory is the father of their child.
Because I just 1,000% know that's his child right there. That's his kid. It's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. It's his child. You can tell. Look at.
And so you just felt like you didn't have to tell the whole truth because you were so certain Keith Jr. was.
And it's just, I feel that it's not, everyone's making it seem like it's cheating. I wasn't with him, it's not cheating.
No, we're past the cheating part. We're on the paternity part.
She messed up the first time. What's to say she can't make the same mistake again? Even the judge finds it difficult to believe her certainty about the baby's paternity, but you can trust Judge Lauren to get to the bottom of any situation. She presses further and asks Mr. McCrory how he found out she slept with someone else.
And see, the thing is the potential father, she would promise him, say she'd send him pictures and stuff like that, but she said she promised me she wasn't sending him pictures.
What kind of pictures are these?
Your Honor, I have pictures that she puts on Facebook all the time. That, you know, some of them are old, but some of them were recent. I mean...
Let me see those, Ron, even though I'm not sure.
If I caught my wife posting those kinds of pictures, I would definitely want to end my marriage. Believe me, the plot of their story thickens as Mr. McCrory tells the judge that the man she slept with was their mutual friend. At this point, does Mr. McCrory even want to stay in the marriage?
This was supposed to be my friend and her friend. He comes over our house, he chills out, he would come to the house and drink with us and crash on the couch for the night.
And this is the person she slept with?
Yes, Your Honor. If she's lying to me and it's not my son, I'm not going to stay with her. I'm going to leave her. I mean, I'm not going to be with somebody who lied to me about my son.
So the stakes are that high?
Yes.
For him to be in the courtroom, let's just say he still cares enough to want to be in the marriage. When Mr. McCrory initially found out she was pregnant, he was very excited to be the father of the baby. Who wouldn't be? But the doubts just wouldn't allow him to accept the child with his heart and soul.
My name's on the birth certificate. I have that with me here today.
You brought the birth certificate?
I got a copy of it.
Let me see that. Ron, can you hand it to me?
I mean, and I was excited when Keith was born. I've always wanted a son that I can give my last name to that can share that bond of a junior and that can pass that on to his son.
The truth is, because she did have unprotected sex with somebody else, it's possible that this little boy is not yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
That was quite dramatic. Who knew Mrs. McCrory was such an emotional woman? Her tears weren't going to stop the case from moving forward. Mrs. McCrory just wasn't ready to believe that there could be another possible father to her child. Even though she cheated, she was beyond certain the child belonged to her husband.
I would think that way. I mean, like I said, like in the beginning it was positive, this one, but there's other options. And then towards the, at the time of court and after court, it was bouncing back and forth. You know, let's write this person, let's write that person. And then talking to, you know, the possible of Nevaeh, you know, the possible father, writing back and forth about your kid looks like my kid.
Of course I'm gonna do that when I'm trying to find out who her dad is.
Her beliefs and certainty meant nothing to Mr. McCrory. He was filled with so much doubt about who the father of the child was. His doubts got so bad that he asked Mrs. McCrory to take a lie detector test. The results from that will leave you speechless. Take a look.
One man you admitted to your husband. You admitted that you did.
Yeah, I did.
Who is that person?
To someone else. It was mistakes when I got together, so he shouldn't be over there shaking his head because he's no better.
All right. Ms. McCrory, you were then asked if you sent racy pictures to anyone other than your husband in the last 4 years. You admitted that you did.
Wow, an absolute wow. Mrs. McCrory has been lying to her husband about almost everything. Has anything she said in that courtroom been true? At this point, it's quite hard to believe her. The judge then goes on to ask her if she's ready to come clean and tell her husband the truth. Is she going to come clean?
Is there anything you'd like to add? Do you have anything you want to share? Do you want to share with your husband? Maybe something you haven't told him to let him know that you're trying to be truthful.
I am truthful. I've been truthful. Well, I mean, other than that lie, I'm not gonna. I mean, it's not really a lie because it's like we weren't together. I mean, we got back together. Why should I have to tell him?
She still believes she's telling the truth. Hilarious. Well, let's take Mr. McCrory out of the seat of his wife's lies and betrayal. What DNA results are in stock for him? Is his marriage going to be saved?
Mr. McCrory, you are the father.
Yeah, I told you so.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm happy for you. You have a beautiful little boy, you have Nevaeh, and you're married. For better or for worse, this may be your worst.
Are your minds ready to be blown? Well, I hope so, because this case will definitely blow your mind. Ms. Anthony claimed her love affair with the defendant was short-term, and a baby was the end product of their time together. She is furious that the defendant is denying a baby they were happy to bring into the world. What could be his reason for denying the baby?
Ms. Anthony, you claim you had a short-term relationship with the defendant, Mr. Pouchot, who was initially excited when you told him you were pregnant, but now you are furious he is denying your 8-month-old son, Matthew. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Pouchot, you say you've never taken Ms. Anthony seriously, and she herself confessed to sleeping with other men during the time of conception.
Were they in love? Were they not in love? It was very hard to tell which from which. Initially, Ms. Anthony told Mr. Pourcio that he wasn't the father of her child. In her defense, she claimed he was in a very bad place in his life, and she didn't want to complicate it further.
And that the child was not his, but Your Honor, he was not in a very good place in his life. He was partying, and I was partying too, but once I found out I was pregnant, I put all those things aside and did what I had to.
And so wait, did you tell him he was the father at first, or that he wasn't?
Yes, he was there when I took the pregnancy test.
But
Your
she
Honor.
told me that I wasn't the father.
She definitely did a horrible job trying not to complicate his life any further, that's for sure. Ms. Anthony believed she was in a romantic relationship with Mr. Pourcio, but Mr. Pourcio stopped her right before she could finish and said their relationship was just about parties.
We had mainly a party relationship, to be honest with you. Like, that's what
true.
our relationship consisted of. No, we didn't argue and all that, but neither one of us were ready to be in a relationship nor have a child.
But it was a sexual relationship.
Yes, it was.
Were you using protection?
No, Your Honor, we were not.
As to the type of relationship they had, let's just leave the answer as very complicated. They then get to the debate of what happened when Ms. Anthony found out she was pregnant. Here's how that little episode played out.
You take a test and he's with you?
Yes, ma'am.
But when you took the test and it came back positive, you immediately told him you're not the father?
Oh, no, not immediately.
All right, tell me what happened then.
We went to bed that night, and I laid there all night and was like, I can't do this. My son deserves better, or my child, at the point I didn't know it was a boy, but my child deserves better than this. I don't know what to do.
After she took the test, she looked me dead in my face and was like, it's not yours.
Be that as it may, Ms. Anthony now regrets her decision to lie to Mr. Pourcio about being the father of her baby. At the time, she felt he was a party freak and wasn't going to do anything for both her and her child. Let's now get down to business. Did she have a sexual relationship with someone else?
And all this is after she told me that she was pregnant with another man's child, and I wasn't the father. I was trying to stay around.
No, those were before, honey. Don't you sit there and lie. That April 8th and the April 4th were before. That middle one was after.
Because I met you in late March. No, actually late February, and you supposedly got pregnant early March.
No, I did not supposedly get pregnant early March. My due date was...
Well, that was definitely unexpected. Now, Mr. Pourcio had a witness, and this witness was none other than his husband. Oh, trust me, you had that right. Mr. Pourcio got bored of hanging out with women, and he decided to switch sides. Moving on, here's what Mr. Pourcio's husband had to say about the whole situation.
Honestly, Your Honor, I wasn't there, obviously, when they did what they did, but I was told from Miss Anthony herself, my husband had gone away for a couple months, and I was holding down things at home. I was holding him down where he was, and I needed a little bit of help because I ran short. I called Miss Anthony. She met me down, in fact, at the very same place that they met, at the bus terminal.
That revelation definitely took me by surprise. Apparently, Mr. Pourcio wasn't the only one she told that the baby did not belong to him. She also told his husband. She wasn't denying that it was a mistake on her path, but she claimed she did it for the safety of her child. If that's the case, why is her story changing all of a sudden?
That is true. I did say that. You have to understand where I was coming from as a mother. You have to, and it was wrong of me. The decision I made was not right in any way, shape, or form. I understand that. But at that point in time, I thought that I was doing what was best for my child. I thought that I was making the best decision because he wasn't ready to be a parent.
Actually, my husband can attest to this, that all I want to be is a parent.
Another truth bomb strikes the floors of the courtroom. Just like we thought, there was another man in the mix of her story. Mr. Pourcio's name wasn't signed on the birth certificate because the other man she was intimate with was present with her when she gave birth to her child.
That time, I'm so confused. You told him he was. At the time the child was born, were you telling him he was the father?
I told him he wasn't at that time.
So he wasn't present for the birth?
No, he was not, and I feel wrong. I stripped him of that, and that was wrong.
The man that was present for the birth signed the birth certificate.
Yes, ma'am.
And he's who I was told was the father.
And so there was another man at the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
So much for trying to keep the relationship private. There's only one thing left, and I'm sure you know what that is. If Ms. Anthony is telling the truth, I'm sure the DNA results will back her up real good. Let's finally get the answers we've been waiting for, shall we?
Mr. Pouchot, you are the father. That's the first time I've seen you smile today, Mr. Pouchot.
On his end and on my end, like, basically makes the child my stepchild.
It does.
It does.
I work.
At least she didn't deny the fact that she was intimate with more than one man. Ms. Bryson was in court to prove to the defendant Mr. McCarroll was the father of her child. Due to her admission of sleeping with another man, Mr. McCarroll wasn't ready to accept her child. Could there be more to their story?
Ms. Bryson, you have dragged the defendant, your ex-boyfriend, Mr. McCarroll, into court today because although you admit to having sex with more than one man, you are here with proof that Mr. McCarroll is the father of your 18-month-old son, Zylan McCarroll. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
There is definitely more to their story. Ms. Bryson wasted no time telling the courtroom that Mr. McCarroll was a cheat. She claimed she wanted nothing more than to get married to Mr. McCarroll, but for some reason, he just wasn't ready to tie the nut with Ms. Bryson.
Are you just trying to say he cheats on you a lot?
Yes, every time we're together, he cheats. I wanted us to get married, okay? And he doesn't want to do that.
Yes, I tried
because
to
he wants to be a whore.
I tried to structure everything about my life to make it where we would never have to be here in this situation, where she would never have to worry about who her baby daddy was or none of that crazy stuff.
I was definitely expecting them to get into an argument, and they didn't let me down. Mr. McCarroll accused Ms. Bryson of putting him in an uncomfortable situation where she had no idea who the father of her child was. Does she not really know who the baby daddy is?
Oh, you're a savior now.
I'm not a savior.
He thinks he is.
I'm not a savior, but I could have avoided this situation.
How could you have avoided that?
I could have avoided this by working and going to school and trying to make a better way for her.
And every time he worked. And hold on, why is it you weren't able to do that?
Oh my God, I can't talk to my mother on the phone. I can't read a book without getting put out, cursed out.
Wow, I do not want to find myself married to any of these two. Their marriage was nothing short of a train wreck. I see them, and I find myself asking, did they ever love each other? Anyway, Ms. Bryson wasn't ready to pull the brakes on her accusations. She still insisted Mr. McCarroll was a cheat, even though he kept saying he wasn't.
Downstairs too long, I'm too quiet. I'm reading a book. What you want me to do, man?
The reason I came downstairs, I heard him on the phone with a girl that he had currently slept with. And we got into it about that situation.
Man,
and
how do you know that was a girl
anytime I
currently slept with?
I talked to her. He was telling her she upstairs sleep with the baby. When I get a chance to get out, I'm gonna come over and we gone.
After that revelation, let's just say Mr. McCarroll and Ms. Bryson were both guilty of cheating. Ms. Bryson was trying to sell a different story to the judge, and she claimed that even though she was in a relationship with someone else, she couldn't say no to Mr. McCarroll anytime he wanted to sleep with her.
Thank you.
No,
Takes two.
No, Your Honor,
Yeah.
I braided his hair. He came over. I asked the guy that I was in a relationship with, could I do his hair? He said yes. He came over and was flirting on me, touching on me. Every time we speak on the phone, I try to call and let him talk to the kids. Every time that we speak on the phone, every time. He always flirts.
The case hasn't even gone halfway, and the word cheating has already been mentioned 100 times. You don't need me to say it. They definitely aren't a good fit for each other. But Ms. Bryson was hurt by the whole situation. She blamed Mr. McCarroll for making her cheat with so many guys. Was it really his fault, though?
I wanted to have a family with him. I wanted to get married to him. Like I said, I've been with him since I was 18. I love him. Any man I ever talked to know that I love him, okay? I wanted to have a son. I wanted to get married. He didn't want to give it to me. He didn't want to settle down, okay? Yes, and I got it. And obviously ain't no man gonna be included in it because I haven't tried to even get into a relationship because I know I'm still hung over him.
I don't know about you, but Ms. Bryson might be right to blame Mr. McCarroll for her misdeeds. Even though she had been with other guys, she knew for a fact that Mr. McCarroll was the father of her baby. As to what evidence she had, here's how that played out in the courtroom.
You're handing up a calendar.
Yes, ma'am. That's a conception calendar.
Okay.
Based on that calendar, I could see my son on April the 28th.
In blue is the date you were intimate with Mr. McCarroll.
Yes, ma'am.
Actual
and
date,
now
I want to
in
know how
pink,
you know that.
you have outlined the window of conception that you calculated.
Yes,
4 different pregnancy tests coming out as positive. Oh, she was pregnant, all right. As much as she believed Mr. McCarroll was her child's father, Mr. McCarroll claimed he had no memory of being intimate during the period Ms. Bryson claimed to have conceived the baby.
Mr. McCarroll,
yes,
do you remember having sex with Ms. Bryson on the 28th?
No, ma'am. We were having sex around that time, but on the 28th specifically, I can't say that. She might have been with that guy then. I have no idea.
The truth is, you all were separated at that time. You had another
Yes, Your Honor.
girlfriend you were dealing with?
Yes, Your Honor, yes.
Okay.
There's about to be a game changer in the courtroom. Judge Lauren asks the other potential baby daddy to come into the courtroom and give his 2 cents about what really went down while he was intimate with Ms. Bryson.
No, I do not, Your Honor.
Why?
Because at the same time she was with me, she was messing around with him. Then I lost my train of thought just thinking about the stuff.
It makes you upset.
Yeah, because I found out that she was messing around on me. She told me she was 99% sure that he was the father.
Boy, did he have a lot to say. Ms. Bryson was cheating on him too? I am speechless. It's the last lap, and the DNA results for both men are sitting pretty with the judge. Who's the father going to be? My bet is on Mr. McCarroll. Am I going to be wrong?
Mr. Perkins, you are not the father. Mr. McCarroll, you are not the father.
Man, case closed. I ain't got no more to say. Say no more.
They both weren't the father? Wow. It's a disappointing day for Ms. Bryson, and you can see it written all over her face.
Calendar was wrong, and my ultrasounds, I showed both of them my ultrasound. Everything said I got pregnant in April. That's what I was worried about. So I obviously got pregnant in May.
Is Zylan McCarroll's father? Do you know?
Yes, ma'am. I obviously got pregnant in May. I thought I got pregnant in April. I was real early, so I know who it is.
Mr. Vadaboncoeur is a man on a mission. He's here to prove that he's not the father of Ms. Furnari's 1-year-old son, Dawson. He's adamant that their relationship was nothing more than a fling, while Ms. Furnari claims they were together for over 2 years.
Mr. Vadaboncoeur, you have petitioned the court to prove to Ms. Furnari that you are not the biological father of her 1-year-old son, Dawson.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim you can prove you're not the father, and when today's results win your case, you want her out of your life for good.
Yes, Your Honor.
According to Mr. Vadaboncoeur, he met Ms. Furnari on Facebook through his sister. They had unprotected sex a couple of times, and then he went away for months. When he found out Ms. Furnari was pregnant, he started hearing rumors about her infidelity.
I met her over Facebook through my sister, and after that, I had unprotected sex with her, and I ended up going away probably 3 to 4 days later. Now, 6 months down the road, I get a letter from my sister stating that Ms. Furnari's pregnant. I haven't talked to her. I tried calling her from where I was, and there's no answer. And then I get pictures in the mail saying, hey, this is your kid.
Yikes. Ms. Furnari, on the other hand, insists that Mr. Vadaboncoeur is the father of her child. She admits to sleeping with 2 other men, but is certain that Dawson is his son. The tension in the courtroom is palpable as both parties stand their ground and exchange verbal blows.
I was thinking he is mine. Now, I get to talking to another guy, and he tells me he's had sex with her, and I look at Dawson, and I look at him, and I'm thinking it's his kid.
How did that affect you?
I was sick of it. I didn't want to keep going through it because it's putting strain on me and my fiance's relationship.
So as the case unfolds, we hear from Mr. Vadaboncoeur's sister, Janine, who spills the tea on Ms. Furnari's cheating ways. She witnessed her sleeping with another man at a party, which only adds fuel to the fire.
You're the sister that told him about the cheating?
Yes.
But you're standing with Ms. Furnari today?
It's about this little boy right here.
Tell me what you know.
That's what it's about.
Tell me what you know.
One night after we had all been drinking, she slept with one of the people that came to our little get-together.
It's a classic case of he said, she said, and the truth seems to be buried under layers of lies and deceit. Mr. Vadaboncoeur is determined to prove that he's not the father, while Ms. Furnari is holding on to hope that Dawson is his son.
Now, why would they
That's a lie.
constantly be lying to me about it? That's the question that I have.
Your
during all
point
this.
is, what is the motive? Do they want to be with her? Do they want to keep you two apart? Your thing is, why are these people coming to tell me something they have no reason to tell me?
I honestly don't know, Your Honor. I think they just want me to know who I was dealing with.
As the judge listens to both sides of the story, it's clear that there's more to this case than meets the eye. With rumors of infidelity, conflicting timelines, and a child's future hanging in the balance, the stakes couldn't be higher. It's a nail-biting moment for everyone involved, and now we're about to find out the truth.
Mr. Vadaboncoeur, you are the father.
That's your son, David.
That's fine.
Now all this can stop or you could be his dad. Can I give my brother a hug? Through all this, I love my brother.
Absolutely. You don't want to hug your sister?
No, I don't.
He doesn't want to hug Ms. Vadaboncoeur.
At the end of the day, if he needs me, that's my baby brother, and I'm there. No matter what he may say, that's my brother.
Mr. Levette is convinced that his girlfriend, Ms. Jackson, has been playing him like a fiddle. And sure, it sucks, but he may be right. Sounds like we're in for a wild ride.
Mr. Lovett, you say Ms. Jackson is a manipulative cheater who has flaunted her flings in front of you during your relationship, and you say her affairs have caused you to doubt that you fathered her 15-month-old son, Corey Jr. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Jackson, on the other hand, is standing her ground. But Mr. Levette isn't buying it, because apparently Corey Jr. doesn't look like his other kids. His other kids that he's fathered with different women, folks, different women.
But the stuff that you be doing, it brings the doubts on it.
Okay.
Like, it ain't like you been good.
You're right.
Horse, you been pregnant.
And you ain't either. He didn't take the relationship seriously. He was talking to other women. So being that he didn't take it seriously, I didn't take it seriously. He was talking to other women and I were talking to other guys.
Now, let's talk about Corey Jr., the adorable 15-month-old baby caught in the middle of this drama. Mr. Levette claims he loves the little guy, but those doubts keep creeping in.
Days go by, another tracking device on my phone.
He's been proven to be not loyal. And buying him, me loving him so much and him loving me so much, and us wanting to be together, I had to be certain that I wasn't being played.
You got detective skills.
I don't
You're
play.
looking for another profession.
I don't play.
But hold up, things take a spicy turn when Mr. Levette starts spilling the tea about Ms. Jackson's alleged affairs and questionable behavior. According to Mr. Levette, Ms. Jackson has been putting tracking devices on his phone and logging into his Facebook, pretending to be him. Whoa, did someone just order a bunch of red flags?
I did have to worry about bills, because as soon as you seen the other guy there, you turned the lights off on me and my kids.
Your Honor.
But the guy never came inside my house. The guy pulled up, cut my grass. After that, we sat on the back of the truck.
Nobody should be over there.
That's what he came up and pulled up on.
Nobody should be over there. Then that same guy ended up sending naked pictures to my phone.
Ms. Jackson wasn't backing down, and she quickly defended her actions. Detective skills on point, Ms. Jackson, but Mr. Levette was still pissed. He's accusing her of cheating in defense of his own wandering eye.
So you feel like you all broke up and you all were at odds. She started going out with somebody else. Next thing you know, she's pregnant, but then trying to get back with you because you feel like she wanted you to take care of this baby and all of her other children.
That too, and also she's still married, so I wasn't taking it serious in the beginning.
Until I got
So
pregnant.
I'm still not
so now we
taking
got
it serious.
kids in between the marriage.
And here's the kicker. Mr. Levette claims he caught Ms. Jackson with her ex at her house, but Ms. Jackson was like, nah, that was just my cousin. Oh, the tangled web of lies we weave. And then there's this whole grass-cutting incident that's got everyone talking.
Her husband is here. We're gonna meet him in a moment. Now you can talk about it if you want, but you started a relationship with her too.
Right.
Exactly.
And got her pregnant.
Right. And I've been taking care of my responsibility.
But no, what I'm saying is you were informed.
He always tried to down talk me, but you knew me before. You knew how I was. You knew my facts that I was married before we even got sexually intimate.
I mean, can you imagine sitting on the back of a truck with your ex while he's cutting the grass? That's some next level awkwardness right there. And then, to top it all off, the ex sends naked pictures to Mr. Levette's phone. Yikes! Sucks to be in Mr. Levette position.
I want to move this forward. I want to get the answers that we need so we can figure out how in the world do we get ourselves out of this. Jerome, can you please escort Mr. Coleman into the courtroom? Sure. Ms. Jackson, I'd like to hear from your husband.
But wait, there's more. Mr. Levette drops another bombshell. Ms. Jackson's got 6 kids. Whoa, talk about a full house. So, to sum it all up, we've got cheating accusations, tracking devices, exes popping up, and a whole lot of kids. Oh, and don't forget the DNA test. Speaking of DNA.
Mr. Lovett, you are not his father.
Told this. That's why I wanted to get DNA.
Are you sure? How is that possible?
Do you know who his father is?
You know who it is.
Oh my God.
Do you need to sit down, Ms. Jackson?
Mr. Poravecchio claims that the defendants, Ms. Touche and her daughter, Ms. Lutz, fraudulently received $150,000 in settlement money from the death of his father, Ricky Poravecchio Sr. It's paternity meets inheritance, and these cases get heated, folks.
Mr. Poravecchio, you claim that the defendants, Ms. Touche and her daughter, Ms. Lutz, fraudulently received $150,000 in settlement money from the death of your father, Ricky Poravecchio Sr. Because Ms. Lutz is not your biological sister, and her mother covered up that fact.
Yes, Your Honor.
So Mr. Poravecchio believes that Ms. Lutz is not his biological sister, and her mother covered up that fact to get a piece of that inheritance money. Now that's a bold claim to make. Better hope you're right, because if you aren't, you're in for some awkward Thanksgiving dinners.
Ms. Touche, you are here to put an end to a more than 30-year-old feud between your family and the Poravecchios, which started with rumors and lies about your daughter's paternity.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Poravecchio, how have you and your family been defrauded by the defendants?
My father was on a tugboat.
Miss Touche, on the other hand, is here to put an end to a 30-year-old feud between the families. She's not having any of Mr. Poravecchio's accusations and is ready to set the record straight. At least that's what she says.
Declared deceased. Miss Lutz was named changed from Theo to
My mom had to
Poravecchio.
change my name because I was born a Theo because she was out of wedlock. My dad and her were poor. They didn't have the money to be married. They were poor.
Disagree.
And after he died, they were already going to get my name changed. And after he died, she had to have it changed.
Now, Mr. Poravecchio brings up the fact that after his father's passing, Ms. Lutz's name was changed from Theo to Poravecchio. He believes this was all part of a scheme to secure that settlement money.
Totally different time.
This
when
was
I was
in
born, there was none born.
1982,
It's not the
83,
1700s,
Ricky.
Lori.
It was in 83. You do not know what the laws and
You were little.
regulations were at that time.
Apparently you don't either.
Excuse me? I
It
was
doesn't
there.
matter.
You were not.
Okay.
My mom and my dad were separated, right, when he died.
And just living apart. There was no
Right.
legality
They
to
were
it
not
at all.
divorced, and my dad never said I was not his
denied
daughter.
Okay, Mr. Poravecchio, you brought...
But hold on, Miss Touche has something to say about that. She explains that the name change was a legal process that had to be done, and it was all in accordance with the law. Things are getting heated.
There's
Dave
things
always had a
that
family
were
feud.
said in the family on my side, my
Okay.
father's side, and also on your side.
Excuse, what did we say?
quicker?
I never said anything bad to you
Never.
about the Poravecchios because you were a child and there was no place in that for children.
We
that was an
stayed out
adult
of it.
situation.
He kept us in contact after my daddy died. She didn't have to go
So,
get you for
Ms.
my
Lutz,
home and let us spend
Ms.
weekends
Lutz,
together.
direct your comments to the court. I want to understand this.
Mr. Poravecchio brings in a witness, Miss Cortez, who is actually his aunt. She sheds some light on the family dynamics and adds another layer to this already complicated situation. Miss Cortez recalls a moment where Miss Touche allegedly ignored Mr. Poravecchio's family at a restaurant, causing quite the stir.
As far as them separating, my brother and Laura, is that my brother walked in on her having an affair.
Oh my God. How would you know something like that? Your Honor, I'd like to explain that lie.
It was told
okay?
by my brother. I was 21 years old.
Ms. Lutz jumps in, defending her mother and expressing her disbelief at the accusations being thrown around. She's not backing down without a fight. The family feud is reaching new heights as emotions run high.
That your father walked in on Miss Touche and another man.
Right. Correct, Your Honor.
Your Honor, that's a lie. That's not the reason my husband and I separated initially. I got a job right as I finished school. I went to work. I was driving a really old, broken down car. My husband was home watching the children. I was driving the car.
It's now clear that there's more to this story than meets the eye. Secrets, lies, and family drama are all coming to the surface in this courtroom showdown. With tensions running high and emotions flaring, it's time to find out how this case will unfold.
Mr. Poravecchio and Ms. Lutz are siblings.
Thank you.
told
Keep up
you.
the lies,
I
Ricky.
told
Keep
you.
them up. You ruined our
Now you're
relationship with
done.
that lies.
You're done, Ricky.
Thank you very much, Dawn.
You the one that wanted this.
No, I wanted
shouldn't
it to
have brought
show
it out.
you. I
You
wanted
brought
to show
it
you
out,
we
and
never
you
had this
got
problem
exactly
until they
what
got in
you
the middle of
deserve.
us.
Let's get some order. Listen.
I just wanted to know that
Ms. Phillips here is trying to prove to Mr. Polk that he's the father of her 1-month-old daughter, Promise. She's all about wanting her baby to have a real father, not just a daddy. And Mr. Polk? Well, he's been playing the denial game since the birth of the baby.
Ms. Phillips, you've opened your case today to prove to Mr. Polk that he is the father of your 1-month-old daughter, Promise. You say after Mr. Polk's initial acceptance of the pregnancy, he has been MIA since your daughter's birth. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
The story begins with a classic social media meetup. Ms. Phillips saw Mr. Polk on a friend's post and decided to slide into his DMs. Apparently, she was out for a little revenge. And boy, did she get more than she bargained for. Mr. Polk started liking her pics, and the rest is history. But hold on, there's a twist.
He has been MIA since your daughter's birth. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Polk, you say Ms. Phillips is pinning her baby on you in hopes of having a relationship with you.
Yes, ma'am.
But you claim there was never a relationship and you're not the father. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Turns out Mr. Polk was already in a relationship when things heated up between him and Ms. Phillips. She claims he was all about wanting her to have his baby, sending her sweet messages about starting a family. And get this, she even got his name tattooed on her. Talk about commitment. But when it was his turn to get inked, he vanished into thin air.
I was playing my role.
But were you using protection?
Yes, at the time, yes.
Oh, he lying, Your Honor. He is lying to you.
When we first started messing around, I was using protection.
You don't believe him, dude. I know you don't believe him, because let me tell you the story. He don't like condoms. He don't like protection. He don't use protection at all.
So you say you weren't using protection?
No.
Now let's hear Mr. Polk's side of the story. He's all about denying the baby, saying Miss Phillips is just trying to trap him into a relationship. He claims they were using protection, but Miss Phillips is quick to call him out on that. She says he's not a fan of condoms and was all about going raw. Oh boy, this is getting messy.
So you started having sex, and tell me what it means when you say you caught feelings.
See, I had left.
He fell in love.
No, he fell in love with me.
He fell in love
with me. I left my little man and everything. I left my little boyfriend alone, left him. Everything, because BJ was telling me, oh, if you went with him, we'll be this. I want you to have my baby. I want to be a family with you. All that good stuff.
Fell for that okie doke.
Yeah, so I left my man.
As the court proceedings unfold, it's clear that Ms. Phillips caught some serious feelings for Mr. Polk. She even left her boyfriend for him, believing they were meant to be. But when she found out she was pregnant, things took a turn. She got his name tattooed on her, thinking they were going to be a family. But Mr. Polk had other ideas.
Why you got a whole girlfriend?
Tell him again, Your Honor. Tell him again, Your Honor.
And then you're not even taking her calls.
Yeah.
Now I feel like Miss Phillips, there are some other people you could have probably called.
He wasn't done with me. I wasn't having that. He wasn't done with me.
I was done with it at the same time.
The tension between Ms. Phillips and Mr. Polk is thick as they go back and forth about their past relationship. She's adamant about wanting him to step up and be a father to her child, while he's sticking to his trusty denial game.
What we're realizing is that he's not addicted to you, but he enjoys having sex with you.
Yes.
And that's why we're here, and that's why you're upset.
Yep.
Let's really say what it is.
Yep.
Mr.
And he trying to claim he cut me off, but he was catching Ubers. I went to my hotel last night till 4 o'clock this morning, was getting on my nerves last night.
As the judge digs deeper into their history, it becomes clear that there's more to this story than meets the eye. Ms. Phillips is holding on to hope that Mr. Polk will step up and be a dad, but he's not budging. The tension between them is thick, and it's time for the big reveal.
Mr. Polk, you are the father. That's your beautiful little girl.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I'm sorry about the doubt.
Well, now that he knows that she is, he needs to help me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And more than that.
Ms. Fields starts off by sharing how she reached out to Mr. Sandifer on Facebook for some money, and he hits her back with a bombshell saying he might need to find his real dad because he's not her father. Ouch! That's gotta hurt, right?
Ms. Boyer and Ms. Fields, you've both brought the defendant, Mr. Sandifer, to court today to prove that he is your biological father, but you each believe that you are his only daughter and the other is not. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Sandifer, you state you do not believe that either is your daughter, but actually hope that one is and one is not.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Fields is not having it, though. She fires back saying Mr. Sandifer never did anything for her and that her grandparents actually raised her because her mom couldn't afford to take care of her. Shots fired. But Mr. Sandifer insists he did his best as a father, even if he wasn't around all the time.
Ms. Boyer, you may have a seat. So, Ms. Fields, start from the beginning.
About 2 years ago, I sent him a message on Facebook asking him if I could borrow some money, and he responded with, maybe I need to find my real dad, that he wasn't even my father.
That's not true. I was upset, Your Honor, at that point in time because she just kept on aggravating me about money, and that's the only time I've ever heard from her is when it was money.
And then we have Ms. Boyer jumping in, claiming that Mr. Sandifer introduced her as his daughter, so he better step up and take care of her. She's not holding back, folks. But Mr. Sandifer is not convinced, saying he has doubts because his name isn't on her birth certificate. The plot thickens.
You are my father. You are my father. I don't compare to you because you were never around me.
I have doubts, young lady.
All right. Tell me about your childhood, Ms. Fields.
Growing up, I was, him and my mother were married from the time I was 4 till about the time I was 9.
This hurts you. It's okay.
I was adopted to
Take
my
your time.
grandparents because my mother couldn't afford. She couldn't afford to take care of 3 children by herself. My grandparents.
Ms. Fields then opens up about her childhood, revealing that her grandparents adopted her and did everything they could to take care of her. She even mentions how her grandfather asked Mr. Sandifer to look after her and her mom before he passed away.
Continue on, please. I'm listening.
My grandparents, they adopted me. They did everything they could for me. They took care of me. They did more than what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, and they pushed me out of the picture. That's why
because you were never in the picture. How could they push you out of the picture when you were never there to begin with?
Then why do you call other men dads all the time? You're married right now,
because
and you're calling him
I called
dad.
him dad because he raised me from the time I was 13.
Girl,
but Mr. Sandifer isn't buying it. He questions why Ms. Fields called other men dad, and why she only came to him for money if he's supposed to be her father. The accusations are flying left and right.
Hey, so Mr. Sandifer, did you date her mother? Did you have an intimate relationship with her mother?
Married.
Yes, Your Honor. Then she come up pregnant, and I was always told by friends that Samantha was my child, but when the baby was born, I was there.
As the case unfolds, we learn more about the complicated relationships between Mr. Sandifer, Ms. Fields, and Ms. Boyer. Ms. Fields shares how her mother found another man, and Mr. Sandifer wasn't in the picture, while Ms. Boyer defends her claim as Mr. Sandifer's daughter. It's a real family feud, folks.
You do.
Of course, because I fought custody for her and everything.
And you would have never done that if it wasn't for
How could I when you was adopted out from under me, Samantha?
You weren't there before I was adopted out from under you. When I was 9 years old, you could have done something.
What did you want me to do?
Act like a father.
I was
do what
there
you had to
for
do
you.
to get
There wasn't
custody
no
of
other
your
man
child.
in your life to be your father.
Do what you had to do to
I
get
took the
custody.
responsibility
Okay, you didn't
to man
take
up.
responsibility of man up when you were at the bar drinking?
The emotions are running high as Ms. Fields recounts the struggles she faced growing up and how her grandparents stepped in to raise her when her mom couldn't. But Mr. Sandifer continues to question the paternity of both women, citing the lack of his name on their birth certificates as a reason for his doubts.
Explain to the court why you're here today, exactly.
I'm here today to prove that Mr. Sandifer is my father.
I have proof otherwise, Your Honor.
You have proof that she is not your daughter.
My name's not on the birth certificate.
I'd like to see that. Jerome, please hand me that evidence.
But Your Honor, he was in a relationship with my mother when I was born, and he lived with us till I was 5 years old.
This is a copy of Ms. Boyer's birth certificate.
As the courtroom drama reaches its peak, tensions flare between Ms. Fields, Ms. Boyer, and Mr. Sandifer. Accusations fly, emotions run high, and the truth seems more elusive than ever. Will the DNA test finally reveal the answer to this family mystery? Let's find out.
Mr. Sandifer, you are not her father.
Oh, wow.
You okay, sir? You need to take a seat?
Yeah.
Mr. Sandifer, you are not her father.
Oh, my.
There was a lot more to the mix than the regular old story of trying to find out who the father of the child is. Ms. Parker was beyond certain that the defendant fathered her child, even though he had a girlfriend. Mr. Morton, the defendant, however, claimed the timeline for her pregnancy just didn't add up. Could Ms. Parker be trying to pin the baby on him?
In your suit, you claim Mr. Morton fathered your 7-month-old son, Aaron, while in a relationship with his current girlfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say the only reason he denies paternity is because his girlfriend turned him against you because she's been unable to conceive a child with him.
Yes, Your Honor.
In addition to the paternity test, you're suing for $2,047 in back child expenses.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, I wasn't expecting to hear that. Now the judge is amazed by the fact that Ms. Parker got intimate with Mr. Morton knowing he had a girlfriend. She then proceeds to ask what kind of relationship Ms. Parker had with Mr. Morton, and what she says leaves the entire courtroom in shock.
We're having
sex I have sex with both of them.
With Mr. Morton?
And Mrs. Lemon.
And his girlfriend?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Oh, so a threesome at the same time, or you have two separate relationships?
Threesome at the same time, separate relationship. If I don't want to have sex with her and I want to have sex with him, that's what happens.
Oh, Okay, it just got interesting.
She was able to have sex with us is because I asked my boyfriend to have sex with her because she was lonely.
That definitely complicates the whole situation. Looks like their freakiness was going a little over the roof. The fact that they were all sleeping with each other didn't change Mr. Morton's mind. Oh, trust me, he still believed he could not be the father of Ms. Parker's child, which begs the question, why does he have doubts?
When were you intimate with Ms. Parker during the window?
The week of Mother's Day, May 11th, I believe.
You're intimate that day.
The only intimacy we had on Mother's Day was oral sex, Your Honor. How you gonna get pregnant off of oral sex, Your Honor?
Judge.
When was Aaron born?
December 5th.
So December 5th.
Judging from that situation, Judge Lauren was definitely not going to get the answers she was looking for. A news story enters the mix and complicates things even further. Mr. Parker's girlfriend claims she had a totally different guy she was sleeping with. But is Ms. Parker going to deny the allegation?
She had to keep reminding him that it's not yours, boo, it's not yours. I had sex with you after he was already in my stomach.
Exactly, I said.
But you told us that you didn't have sex with nobody.
I just
after
said
you
I
got
didn't
pregnant.
have unprotected sex.
Let's get some control. I want to understand this story. Your testimony, Ms. Parker, is that you weren't intimate with anyone else during that time?
I did not have unprotected sex.
At least she didn't deny getting intimate with another man. Now we know there is a possibility that there might be two fathers. Ms. Parker then tries to clear the air of doubt by dropping a truth bomb. She claims she had a miscarriage before getting pregnant for Mr. Morton.
Ms. Parker, you stated that you weren't having unprotected sex with anyone else.
Yes.
But you're saying you only have unprotected sex with Mr. Morton.
Yes, Your Honor, yes. Let me explain my side of the story, because I'm trying to,
Yeah.
Before my boyfriend went away, I was pregnant by him. That's what they're getting confused. I had a whole miscarriage, Your Honor. A whole miscarriage by this man.
Now, all of a sudden.
I sure wasn't buying the whole miscarriage story, and trust me, the judge wasn't either. Moving on from all that drama, Ms. Parker finds out she's pregnant, and at the first instant, she tells Mr. Morton the baby isn't his. After having an appointment with her doctor, things change.
I'm not gonna lie, I told him, this is not your baby. Being as though I have a sonogram telling me I'm 13 weeks. So when I go to my first prenatal appointment and they give me a fetal assessment and they say, no, miss, you're 8 weeks pregnant. Your baby is due December the 24th.
So you went to your appointment and then your due date got adjusted?
Yes.
So initially, when you got pregnant, they gave you a certain due date?
Yes, ma'am.
Who knew a child's due date could be changed? Oh well, in Ms. Parker's case, that's exactly what happened. Aside from the fact that he was denying her and the baby, Ms. Parker was also upset because he had not helped out with the finances of taking care of her child. And spoiler alert, he loved taking care of other people's kids.
This feeling that he steps up to the plate and takes care of other people's children,
Yeah, so
but
why
does
should
not properly take care of baby Aaron is the basis of your suit.
Right.
You're suing for $2,047 in child care expenses, things you've spent on baby Aaron since he's been born, and you say Mr. Morton's done nothing.
Besides $30 and she hand-me-down.
The whole situation in the courtroom is about to change, folks. And trust me, you will be left in shock. Ms. Parker brings a witness to the courtroom, and guess who that witness is? None other than Mr. Morton's mother. I bet you weren't expecting that to happen now, were you?
So it is your belief that baby Aaron is your grandchild?
Yes, that's us all the way.
Have you witnessed your son connect with this child?
Yes.
And you've connected with the child?
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Morton's mother sure had a lot to say about their love triangle. The crazy thing about this case was Mr. Morton's mother believed the baby was her grandchild. She even went on to say all her family members accepted the baby, so she has no idea why her son doesn't want to.
We do accept him without a doubt.
Without doubt?
Without a doubt. I don't share his doubts because that's ours. That's a more.
You wouldn't know my doubts, Your Honor. My mother don't know anything about the situation. Every time I try to put her into the situation, she don't want to bother.
Where are we going from here with
Well, I'm gonna tell you where I'm going from this. When you read them DNA tests and they tell you that that's that man's son, I'm going to child support. That's where I'm going with this. I'm going straight downtown.
High time we brought their three-way sexual escapades to a close, right? There's a baby who needs to have a father. Let's see if the envelope is going to give us a shocker.
Mr. Morton, you are Aaron's father.
Thank you. I told you, like, I'm not no. Come on.
son to care for that child, and Miss Parker is entitled to half of the child care expenses she has incurred thus far. You admit.
There's just something about the name Parker and very messy situations. Mr. Montgomery was beyond upset that Ms. Parker led him to believe he was the father of her child. After playing the daddy role for 3 months, she jumps out of the blue and says her fiancé is the new father. What's making her change her mind?
Mr. Montgomery, you say Ms. Parker led you to believe that you fathered her 3-month-old son, Timothy Montgomery. You say you were present at the birth, named the baby, signed the birth certificate, but now Ms. Parker says you're not the father.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove that, in fact, you are Timothy's father.
Mr. Montgomery seemed to be quite certain he was the father of her child. He starts off by going on a long rant about how he has been the most supportive father ever and how his name is on the child's birth certificate. But Ms. Parker is hell-bent on proving he is not the father of her child.
It's my son, you know, I mean, I was there, you know, through the pregnancy. You know, she allowed me to sit there and sign the birth certificate. And what the funny part is, she allowed me to name the son after my deceased father.
Ms. Parker, why would you allow him to do all of these things? Sign the birth certificate at that time, did you or did you not believe he was Timothy's father?
I thought he was the father.
The cat is definitely out of the box. She was sleeping with both men at the same time. Way to go, Ms. Parker. She did admit that for a while she believed that Mr. Montgomery was her baby's father. The judge then asks how she managed to end up in bed with 2 different men, and the courtroom goes up in flames.
I was with Mark, and he was always on Xbox. He wouldn't even have sex with me during the whole pregnancy because he felt weird.
So you're in a relationship, you're not happy. You feel like he's paying more attention to
a
me
game
and her first met, it wasn't even like that. He wasn't even in the picture from what I've said.
You are
he done left.
He pried on my girlfriend when I was
one
with
at
her.
a time.
Thank God the judge came to the rescue because both men were ready to rip each other in half. Even with Judge Lauren telling both men to take a chill pill, they still couldn't stop yelling at each other. It felt like a wrestling match between Mr. Montgomery and Ms. Parker's fiancé.
Trust and believe, my son will have what he needs.
That's funny because I'm the one down there right now putting diapers on his ass, buying formula, buying
my
clothes.
back and you bit on my girl, homie.
So
I asked because I had a feeling.
Before you got pregnant, you ended up with Mr. Lanou, right?
Your Honor,
So how did that happen?
Mark.
The first time he had left was the first time me and her met. Throughout the whole time, even told him that we were sleeping together after he had came back.
They finally decide to tone down their voices. I never thought that a time would come when both men would quit yelling at each other. With the yelling out of the way, the judge decides to ask Ms. Parker why Mr. Montgomery was present at the birth and not her fiancé. Well, here's how that story went.
Holding him for the first time, you know, I bring him to, you know, her face, you know, so she can see him because she had a C-section. You know, I'm sitting there crying. I even told myself that, you know, when he was born, I was like, I'm not gonna cry. Was I nervous? No, I was excited because the simple fact of the matter, I was told that I was gonna be a father. And unlike most men, I was damn proud to hear that I was gonna be a father.
Judging from that revelation, you could only feel sorry for Mr. Montgomery. He definitely had high hopes of becoming a father. Ms. Parker's fiancé, on the other hand, was riding a different train. He claimed he was furious about the whole situation, but couldn't do anything about it.
Mr. Montgomery went through all of the motions, got to be at the hospital.
It still hurts.
He named the baby after his father. I mean, he's doing the most.
I actually was going to show up to the hospital, but out of respect for her and that unborn child, refused to because I know that it would have caused a disturbance between me and him.
It was really hard to believe her fiancé. He didn't even sound that convincing. Now, who's been stepping up as the father of the child? Is it Mr. Montgomery, the man who desperately wants to be the father, or Ms. Parker's fiancé? That's the question the judge is trying to figure out. But was she going to get the answer she was looking for?
Mr. Montgomery, you haven't been stepping up? Is that by choice?
She wanted me out.
I did.
And I granted her wish. She sat there and came to me, you know, I told her, I was like, you just don't seem like you want to be with me no more. She said, I don't. She told me she would rather be with Luke because, you know, no, she said she would rather be with Luke because he was the more plausible father of the child.
There were definitely no answers waiting for the judge, that's for sure. Ms. Parker is then asked what she's going to do if she finds out the baby belongs to Mr. Montgomery. In her defense, she claims she's going to let him visit but not spend so much time with the child, but Mr. Montgomery has bigger plans.
Mr. Montgomery is in fact Timothy's biological father. What then?
I will let him see him.
You'll let him be a part of his life?
I would. Just not, you know, taking him places, you know, far away.
I want to be able to spend days, weeks, months, years. I want to teach my son right from wrong. I want to pass my father's legacy that he passed on to me, on to my son, to him.
You don't need me to tell you, Mr. Montgomery and Ms. Parker are going to suck at being co-parents. The big question on everyone's mind now is how she is so certain that the child belongs to her fiancé and not Mr. Montgomery. What could possibly be her reason?
Do you really want Timothy to be Mr. Lanew's child?
Yes,
because you want to be with Mr. Lanew?
Because he is honestly more active with all 3 of my kids. I want him to be Timothy's father. He's more interactive.
Wanting and having a reasonable basis to believe he's the father are 2 different things.
He's not the father. I want to be with him.
At this point, there's really no point for the judge to keep dragging the whole situation any further. It's been a whole mess, and the only way out is the results hidden behind the envelope. Are the results going to be in Mr. Montgomery's favor? Let's find out.
Mr. Montgomery, you are not the father. Mr. Lanew, you are the father.
Baby. In my eyes, that's still my son. I was there for his birth. I sat there and was there for the first month and a half of his life.
In this situation, Ms. Hubbard wanted to prove to the court that the defendant was the father of her 2-year-old daughter, but she didn't stop there. She was also seeking 2 years' worth of child support from the defendant. Mr. Watson Jr. claimed he couldn't be the father. Could he be trying to deny the baby?
Ms. Hubbard, you've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove to Mr. Watson Jr. that he is the father of your 2-year-old daughter, Amiria Hubbard.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're also seeking 2 years' worth of child care expenses in the amount of $2,150.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Watson, you say you know you are not the father of Ms. Hubbard's daughter.
Let's just say she felt more hurt than anger. She claimed it wasn't easy on her side, having to take care of 5 children and her disabled mother all by herself. Even the judge couldn't hide how sorry she felt for Ms. Hubbard.
He hasn't contributed to anything. He hasn't done anything for her. Nothing.
You're doing this by yourself?
Yes, ma'am. I'm taking care of my 5 children and my disabled mother by myself. And
how hard has it been for you?
Very hard.
I see the tears in your eyes.
Yeah, very hard.
Oh, stop.
When I was pregnant with her, he came around and he was supposed to give me some money because I had took him somewhere. He didn't want to give me some gas money.
Mr. Watson Jr. sure has a lot of explaining to do. Ms. Hubbard told the judge that he sold her a dream of wanting to be there and take care of her and her child. But in real life, he never wanted to be part of their lives. Well, guess what? Mr. Watson Jr. didn't deny the accusations. So where did it all go wrong?
Mr. Watson, is that true? Have you done anything for this child?
No, ma'am, I haven't done anything for this child.
You admit you've done nothing?
Yes, ma'am.
Why is that, sir?
Because I don't think this is my baby.
You don't?
It is not my baby, because she lied.
But your family
had sex with Ms. Hubbard,
But your family members
right, but she
Did you use
her.
protection?
No, ma'am. But this was way before.
And
she
his
lied.
family members
She lied about her dates.
That revelation definitely took everyone by surprise. One thing was for sure, though. Mr. Watson Jr. came very prepared to defend himself. He brought out a calendar that detailed the time frame in which Miss Hubbard claimed she was pregnant. Here's how that played out.
She told you she was 3 months pregnant in August.
Right.
And then you say in October, she told you she was 3 months pregnant again?
Again, yes. So I'm like, who does that? Why should I believe that's my baby?
But that's a lot of months to be 3 months pregnant.
That's what I'm saying. He don't even know.
Ms. Hubbard, can you explain this? No.
After that back and forth, I can only ask, how did these two even get into a relationship with each other? Mr. Watson Jr. then goes on to express further why he feels Ms. Hubbard is trying to pin the baby on him, and trust me, he had more truth bombs to reveal.
She was pregnant. She was 3 months pregnant. I was like, oh, okay, so I know she probably be pregnant because we did have unprotected sex, so I rolled with it. Okay, so September, she sold me an ultrasound. And the ultrasound, she supposed to be in, about 4 months? Ultrasound looked like the baby was like about ready to come out, like 7 months. So I'm like, you cannot be 4 months. No. Look at that baby head.
I did tell you he had more truth bombs up his sleeve, but here's where things get a little tricky. All this while, Ms. Hubbard believed they were in a romantic relationship because she really liked him. But for Mr. Watson Jr., that was not the case. Even while he was with her, he was cheating with several women. Oops.
Was this an exclusive relationship? Did you all say we're committed, we're boyfriend and girlfriend?
Yeah, we was together.
No.
We was together, but he was still cheating. He a dog.
Only time I wanted to be
He still had had females. He was living in a rooming house with a female. He still had females. He talking about they just his friend. I used to stay catching him, but like after when I caught him after we had sex on Valentine's Day, I was done. I was over.
That was a lot to handle if you ask me. Now the dynamic of their story takes a new turn. Mr. Watson Jr. drops another truth bomb in the courtroom and claims he is certain he wasn't the only man Ms. Hubbard was intimate with. Hold up, there was another man?
I ain't want to look at it because, you know, it's a diary. It might hurt my feelings. So Temptation told me to go and look at it. I went on and look at it. First page, I see she was talking about her first love, I flipped to another page, it had a condom pack on it. And explaining the dude that she had sex with, how his sex was and everything. Okay, I flipped to another page, flipped to another, was another condom pack. Right there, so
on the diary?
Now, that was some evidence. Looks like he wasn't lying after all. When Ms. Hubbard found out she was pregnant, what did he do? She told Mr. Watson Jr. immediately, and as you would expect, he denied it to her face. Here is what she did after his denial.
Did you go to any of the doctor's appointments? You showed the ultrasound? Did you show up for that?
No, she lied the first time.
I didn't see him no more. I didn't see him no more until he asked me to do his hair, and he came over there and he had brought some clothes with him at my house to do his hair. When he had left, he left his outfit. Then I my baby, I ain't got time to back her none. I said, okay, well, let me go on here and sell this little nice outfit.
She has definitely been through a lot. It hurts her so bad that in no time she bursts into tears as she talks about how Mr. Watson Jr.'s family accepts her and the child. But for some reason, he just doesn't want to accept the baby.
His family members even accept my child. He the only one that don't accept her.
Well, that's because you lied. You're
saying, Miss Hubbard, that this is upsetting you because you say his whole family.
Yes, and he keeping her away. He don't even want her around his other kids. He don't even claim her. Sometimes he claim her on Facebook, then he get mad, that ain't his baby, then he make a show about it. But that's his child.
For her sake, I hope Mr. Watson Jr. ends up being the father of her child because he has put her through so much. The results from the DNA are in. It's high time we got a verdict from the judge, so here it comes.
Mr. Watson, you are Amaria's father.
Deadbeat. Like I told you. Right.
Sorry. You've been lying on them dates.
I'm straight.
You've been lying on them dates. And I'm willing to take care of her. Along with my other 2 kids, I promise.
I'm straight.
Talk about a messy situation. This would definitely go down as the messiest to ever exist. Ms. Streeter found herself in the courtroom trying to prove that her child belonged to the defendant who lied to her about his marriage. At least the defendant wasn't denying the affair, but was he going to accept the baby?
Ms. Streeter, you claim that during your relationship with the defendant, he convinced you to get pregnant with his child, but what you didn't know is that he was a married man.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say Mr. Hartfield is only denying the child in order to save his marriage. Mr. Hartfield, you say you made a mistake by having an affair, but you know you are not the father of Miss Streeter's child. You claim that Miss Streeter was openly sleeping with other men besides you.
As you would expect, Ms. Streeter and Mr. Hartfield, the defendant, were not going to go down telling the same story. On one side, Ms. Streeter claimed Mr. Hartfield told her he wanted to have a family with her. On the other hand, Mr. Hartfield denied all accusations, claiming Ms. Streeter was nothing but delusional.
We went to the hospital when we got the birth control taken out together. We went together.
She's telling you guys a bunch of lies. a whole lot of lies. That's convincing. if I didn't know any better, I'd be convinced.
What is true?
That's definitely not the truth. We went in and took a birth control out together. That's definitely not true.
We planned this child, and when we even planned the date, I had an app on my phone that tracked my ovulation, and we knew what we was doing when we was having sex.
One thing was for sure, though. Mr. Hartfield's hands weren't innocent. How are you married, and you end up having an affair with someone else? In his defense, he claimed he never kept the fact that he was married a secret from Ms. Streeter. But was that really true?
He's trying to make it seem like we was never in a relationship and that this never happened, but he just texted me just recently trying to get back with me, trying to tell me he want to be with me.
Oh my God.
So that's
Is that true, sir?
No, it is not.
I have a text message right here.
Streeter?
He texted me last night. I have the proof right here.
I'd like to see that. You say he texted you?
He texted me earlier this week.
After that piece of evidence, Mr. Hartfield was definitely lying through his teeth. Even Judge Lauren couldn't hide her irritation any longer. He was trying to make the situation look like he was the victim. But come on, Mr. Hartfield. We're too grown for all that. Just tell the truth.
That is true. I did send those messages.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did.
But he's a married man.
Hold on. Let me explain to you why. Because of this game that she and I like to play, that she likes to play. If I don't do that, Dominique goes ballistic. And we've been playing this game, but now that we're in court, it seemed like something that some old man has been trying to hit on a young lady. But I'm telling you, that is not true.
Oh well, looks like the judge might have to hit him with tougher questions before he tells the truth. What the judge wanted to know now was, what happened when Ms. Streeter told Mr. Hartfield she was pregnant?
It was planned. It was expected. He was excited. He wanted a baby. That was the whole point.
The deal, this is the situation. Dominique deals with so many guys, okay? She found one that was an older guy, and she thought that I would be a cake daddy, or however you want to call it. The thing is that she found out, hey, you're dealing with a guy that ain't got no money, so now you waste your time.
That's not true. That's not true.
Mr. Hartfield sure knows how to lie. At this point, the judge is done listening to whatever stories he's telling in the courtroom. She proceeds to ask Mr. Hartfield's wife if she had any idea her husband was fooling around with Mizzy Streeter. Here's how that drama played out.
All of these details and the fact he's still texting this 22-year-old young woman?
No, he did not.
How did you even find out about this entire affair?
The text message that I received from her.
You get a text message?
A random text message that says, I'm in a relationship with your husband and have been for 8 months, and I'm pregnant. And that's it.
It's really not surprising he kept the whole affair from his wife. I mean, who in their right mind would tell their wife they had an affair? The mind-blowing thing about this drama between Mr. Hartfield and Ms. Streeter was that he was actually excited to have the baby.
He was there when the baby was born. He was excited, like, you know, that's my baby, that's my boy. I never got to see none of my kids born. I want to be with you. Let's make this work. We got a child. He needs to be in the house with both parents.
Were you telling her these things, Mr. Hartfield?
No.
I tried to get him to sign the birth certificate. The reason why, he signed it at first, but it was time for the witness to see us, and he like, you too anxious about me signing this birth certificate.
Could you imagine that? His name was actually signed on the child's birth certificate. Wow! All hands were pointing at Mr. Hartfield. In trying to change the topic, he drops a truth bomb, claiming he wasn't the only man Ms. Streeter was sleeping with.
Oh, now it's her fault.
Because I never got her support or anything.
Not only that,
that's a fact.
He had more girlfriends
than
he was talking to me. When I first met him, he had a lot of women he talked to.
Of course.
A lot.
Of course.
It was a...
Of course.
So not only was it me, it was other people.
Let the truth come out. That's exactly what I said.
Mr. Hartfield was definitely not expecting that to come to bite him in the ass. Isn't Mr. Hartfield tired of all these lies? Because I definitely am. Anyway, you can only hide the truth for so long till it bursts out, and the DNA results are about to do just that.
Mr. Hartfield, you are the father.
Okay, that's cool. That's okay.
Do you understand now what you just made a child with?
Right.
No, look at me. I don't know what he told you up until this point. I will say that con men like him, they can be very charismatic. You two are both very beautiful young women.